Hello, hello, hello. I know you might still be behind an ad wall, so Carl and I are going to take it nice and slow on this introduction. But my name is Alyssa Nicoll, and here today with me, I have on this side,
Yeah.
Carl Bergenhem, and we are here today to do an NG-conf TLDR stream. So all of the highlights, the fun things. We have some prizes to give away ourselves that we're doing. Two recap streams, one today and one tomorrow, as soon as Frosty signs off. So yes, this is your recap, and we'll announce prize winners at NG-conf, I think, like maybe in the chat on the last day, maybe, or maybe afterwards we'll just send you your beloved prize and we can tweet about it. So we let's see, I need to get the link. Carl, do you happen to have the link?
Oh, to the lovely form. Yes, on my second screen. That because now I pasted a couple of other links, and now I just need to grab that. I could have been ready. Could have been ready. Instead,
totally
I'm
put you
not.
on the spot.
Yeah. I'm gonna post it directly in the chat. Okay, wait. Can I do it through this backend system? No, I'm just gonna do it in the actual. There we go. From Zelly Faces. That's me. Posted it in the stream. Blammo. If you wanna, if I need to send it to you in some other way, Alyssa, let me know.
Let's see. I think that is perfect. Hi, hello. I'm saying hi to people in chat. Welcome. I know it's kind of slow as people are rolling in and leaving NG-conf and joining us. So we're gonna take a minute to. I actually have a couple of clips that I'm going to show throughout. So I'm really excited for our recap. But I'm going to send out a tweet just to make sure everyone knows that we are live. And Carl, I'm going to need your best Twitter face.
My best Twitter face? What is a Twitter face? What am I supposed to do for a Twitter face? Uh-oh.
Like, the face. Hey, Jeff Cross. Hi. The face that you want Twitter to see. Hey, UHF. Hi, Mike. Hello, beautiful people. All right, 3, 2, 1. Twitter face. Oh yeah, that was it. That was money.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Welcome everyone. I see a bunch of people just hopped in. This is the NG-conf TLDR stream, the recap of all the highlights from day one, and of course prizes, which I will plop, plop, plop. I did get glitter on my face, but like maybe not as much as I could. Someone was remarking on my tweet earlier that so I think I could do better. So we'll see. Tomorrow I might just be like all glitter.
I should have bought glitter. I didn't know glitter was a prerequisite. I could have done that. The closest I can come is the white beard hairs. That's about it. I don't know if that counts as glitter though.
Are you saying that you're not glitter opposed?
I'm not glitter opposed. I mean, I understand the purpose of glitter, and plus with all these extra lights on me, it'll just really make my skin pop. Is that the conversation? What you would use for that? Yeah.
Oh, Webman said, Carl, what beard filter is that?
Yeah, it is purely a filter. Actually, it's funny you mentioned that. One of my friends who has a huge ginormous beard used one of those clean face filters on, and it was so realistic that I actually said, I have never seen you without a beard. I fell for it 100%. And yeah, he still holds that over me that I fell for the deep fake.
Oh, okay. So I have slides. I mean, today, I wanted to bring you all the best recap possible. So I made some slides of slides. It's very meta. So we're gonna just, I think, dive right in if you're fine with the diving and the doing.
Yeah, let's do it. It's been a day full of NG-conf goodness. So let's just continue.
Gosh, and it ended so strong, but we can't start at the end. We have to start at the beginning. So yeah. I will save it, but oh my God, that ending. So yes, today we started off with a tri combo and I think I got this out of order, but Jessica from the Angular team was second. And Jessica was recently added to the team back in October of 2020. But based on her keynote, she is knowledgeable and witty. It was really, really entertaining keynote. So I think it was about 20 minutes, 20 minutes, and 20 minutes. So if you missed it, it's like an hour total keynote, but it was broken up between 3 different speakers, Jessica, Emma, and Stephen. And so Jessica she kind of went over the state of Angular as far as community contributions for Angular version 12, which is not out yet, but it is coming out. Operation Bylog, which had a ton of open PRs, and you can see that number drastically shifted from June 2020. And how the PR process is going to be changing. That was really interesting. And she just kind of walked through the new steps that they're thinking, and they took notes from VS Code's PR process. So very, very cool stuff. She said this new PR process is going to help the Angular team better determine what are the most impactful things that will help the most people. Oh my God, the Webpack high five. So I'm gonna, like I said, I've got some clips, and I hope you all forgive me. Jessica, if you're watching, I love you, but I just had to. So I'm gonna go over and show you real quick clips throughout. So here is the Webpack high five as she was talking about Webpack version 5 being supported in the latest version of Angular.
And I'm happy to say that in V12, Webpack 5 is officially the default. Hi, Webpack 5. Nice hit, Emma.
It was just so good. I was like, oh, it's so good. So this year, the NG-conf team was kind enough to give me a little sneak peek at some content. And so I was able to make some clips of some of at least what I thought were the juiciest moments. I wasn't able to capture everything because it's just so freaking good. So if you weren't able to attend the full day today, I would encourage you to do it tomorrow, because holy heck, there was just so much good content. And so just there were so many times where I was just like out loud laughing, and my husband's like, what? So I'm like, you had to be there, babe. I can't explain it. There was some talk on module federation, and a couple of shout outs actually from Jessica to people in the community. So Manfred, if you're in the chat, yes, just yes, for your work with spreading module federation knowledge in the community. Follow at Manfred Steyer if you want to know more. He actually had a talk. And then there was another shout out for creating tooling to integrate ESLint with the CLI. And that was to Mr. James Henry on Twitter. So I love the community shout outs. They're very special to me. And we appreciate you all very much. But speaking of the linting, I don't know if you see her there with the lint roller in the screenshot, but she's cracking me up. But you can use now with version 12 that's coming out soon. You can choose which linter you want to use. So there's no longer one by default. You can say which one you'd like to use, and here's how you can use ESLint. And then there's also end-to-end testing. More robust alternatives to Protractor have emerged, and I saw the chat lighting up about that this morning. And I don't know if it was just excitement or rip, for Protractor, but yes, let me see. I think on this next slide is where I talk about they also will no longer be configured by default in GE2E. And so you'll have the option to choose which end-to-end testing solution you'd like. And there's an open request for comments. And this is kind of semi-new, maybe something that the Angular team is doing more and more of, where they are reaching out to the community and they're saying, we want to hear from you. And so that bit.ly link is actually the open RFC to discuss the future of E2E testing in Angular. So if that's something that you're really passionate about or that you have opinions on, that link is for you. So check it out. Something else, and I'm not going to go into this deep of level, but because it's about V12 and the upcomingness of Angular, and it's NG-conf, I kind of was like, okay, we're going to touch on a couple of things. So the last thing was Sass modules and how you can now inline Sass with version 12. So I'm super excited about that. But yes, that was, oh my goodness. So let me real quick pop out of this. I'm going to go to us full screen. That was Jessica's talk. And then she had a quick bit on SAS that I'm going to show, and then introduce Emma, who hopefully you've met virtually, of course. But if not, I think it's at Twerksky. It's TWERSKY on Twitter. She's so amazing and another wonderful addition to the Angular team. And so I'm going to show 2 clips now. Here we go.
Okay, we've gotten a little too sassy, so let's talk about something else with style.
I love it. Okay, so here is Emma's introduction, which I think there was a tweet going around about it, but it just was marvelous. And if you don't know, the theme of this NG-conf was NG-conf the musical. So Emma's introduction.
Good morning, Angular. That's about as much singing as you'll pretty much ever hear from me. But I just want to say I'm so excited to be kicking things off here at NG-conf 2021. My name is Emma Twerksky, and I'm a developer relations engineer on the Angular team at Google.
So yes, Jessica, Emma, and then Steven were the 3 that kicked off the keynote. And I didn't know, Carl, if you had anything to add. I think I had a highlight for, let's see, I'm going to go see. I think I had a highlight for something that Steven said, but I wanted to see if you had anything because I've been blathering on so quickly.
Yeah, no, you covered actually a lot of my notes. I have all my notes that I took over here as well. But I think the coolest thing coming up from the keynote for me was seeing how the Angular folks are really looking to listen to the community, right? And they're taking a lot of feedback in, and they're actively going through that. And I really liked Steven's portion as well, where he kind of brushed on a couple hot topics, like, for example, why don't you just make everything reactive, right? Which is like one of the top voted items on the issues list for Angular, and kind of dove into the intricacies of, well, see, if we do that, then you would have this other side of the coin where people are saying remove all the reactiveness, like take that out completely, and how do you serve everybody, right? And that's a very interesting topic that goes beyond just the Angular framework, right? It's almost any kind of software where you're writing features or adding in features. But I found that was really cool to kind of use the time to step through some of these hot topics and go into the mindset of the team, so that folks know, hey, it's not being ignored, it's a bigger topic, and kind of let people maybe open their eyes a little bit to understand, oh yeah, maybe there are some other folks in the community are doing things a little bit different than I'm doing, and that should be okay as well, right? So I really like that portion of the keynote.
Yeah, Steven, I think the way he opened it was he was going to talk about some really like hot questions that the community had for the Angular team. Like, why did you choose to do it that way? Or why are you ignoring me on this feature request? And so he dove into some of those and tackled them. And I thought he did it very eloquently. So
yeah,
definitely, honestly, I think there was like, everything was so amazing and it was such a good conference. So I don't want to belittle any of our fantastic speakers, but I think if I had a top 5, the day 1 keynote with Emma, Jessica, and Steven would definitely be in it. So yeah, if you can only pick 5, definitely check out the keynote. But I think, let me show, not that button. Correct me if I'm wrong, was Dan next? I think he was next.
Yes, he was. Yeah,
I'm sure he was. And I want to pull up comments too as well. Emma, that's as much singing as you'll hear from me. Yes, no, I honestly, I was like, oh yeah, Wolf was asking if I'll share my slides. Heck yes, always. And asking about the cameo in the Stack Blitz commercial. So I actually do an Angular Air podcast weekly with Justin Schwarzenberger and Mike Brocky and Bonnie Brennan. And we had the Stack Blitz team. I think it might have just been Eric on that particular one, but he was giving us a sneak peek at what he was going to talk about at NG-conf, and it was just blowing my mind. And so I think I had no idea he was going to use that clip. So I thought it was really funny.
Yeah.
But Dan, I think, was next. And of course, his talk was increase your productivity by isolating your component development. And I thought this talk was cool because it had very distinct 2 halves, Angular Playground and Storybook. And it was both really just good and clean walkthroughs on how you can use both of those to build your components in isolation. And so I didn't know if, Carl, you had anything you wanted to add to Dan's, or let me see if I think, oh yes, I have another one of just kind of highlighting those two. But
Yeah.
was
Yeah, for me, it was actually, I didn't know about Angular Playground until this talk, which was very interesting. So if you're like me and you hadn't actually taken a look at that before, you definitely should, because I found it very interesting how you can truly play around like live with your components without necessarily having to change the source code of the components, right? So, if they get to a certain stage and you still kind of want to tweak around with them, see, oh, what if I change this property to do this or do that? As you're building out these larger components, you can do that. Storybook, similarly, we at Kendo UI, of course, we deal with trying to create art components and be able to build them out and distribute in some way. And while I haven't heard Storybook too often in the Angular space, it's really cool to of course see it mentioned there and also highlighted. So yeah, for both of these, if you haven't heard of either, I should say, you definitely should take a look at this talk, because it does explain kind of some of the benefits of each one, and even maybe how you can use them hand in hand, right? So I really enjoyed Dan's talk specifically because I actually learned quite a bit from it. So it was great to see.
I think next up was Manfred, which, as Jessica touched on, Manfred's done so much work in the community around module federation and micro front end, which is a pattern that, because of module federation, it brought about. And so his talk, it went into the why and how of the module federation and if you should or shouldn't. I have this next slide with the motorcycle. If you missed it, he had this running metaphor of like scooters and driving and life, and I thought it fit really beautifully. I always envy people when they can pull off a metaphor. Because I'm like, anytime I'm trying, people are like, I'm more lost than before you tried. So
yeah, that's true.
But if you are asking yourself, should I micro front end? Is that something I should do to my application? This talk's for you. And Manfred is the person for you, because he answers it beautifully. And I've had him on a couple of podcasts before, and he's got tons of like literature out there in forms of blog posts and things. So he is definitely the person to answer this question for you, if that is something you're into. Let's see. The next one was Saran, and she talked about SPA as platform with micro front ends and capabilities. And I just wanted to ask Carl, like real quick.
Yeah.
Is the whole world about micro front ends now?
It definitely seemed like it was based on today's talks. They're definitely grouped together for a reason, I think, right? But these two kind of back to back definitely made me say, yeah, micro front ends, let's do it right now. I'll invent a micro front end that I need to create. But I think what's really cool about seeing these talks is that some of us work on enterprise applications, right? While some might work on some smaller apps, or if you like me, I spin up countless sample apps, but none of them really build up to a big enterprise app, because generally, I'm sharing our components in some way, right? So, I'm not building some sort of payment software, right? Or anything like that. I'm not reinventing Stripe over here, let's say. But what is really cool is to see folks that are in the trenches doing those kind of large applications and seeing the pros and cons of some approaches you can take. So what I really liked about this talk was kind of going through a couple different scenarios of how you can architect your SPAs, right? And how you can set up the micro front ends. And not really a pros and cons list, but more like a benefits and then a consideration, which I like those terms, because it allowed you to take a look at, okay, these are the benefits of going with this approach. And then here are some gotchas that you should think of as you go down that route. But it might not necessarily be that it's a bad thing. It's more just be aware that these are some of the things you need to consider. So I really, really loved seeing that, because it puts, it's more, kind of, I guess, showing by doing rather than just kind of listing off a couple of items.
No, absolutely. I think the next one was not micro front end with and I put their I put their Twitter handles here, or at least their handles in, because I thought that might be more useful. But Nathan, and then I'm blanking on our other gentleman.
Jose, I believe is how you pronounce the name as well, and I apologize if I butcher that very much. Yeah. But yeah, so this was about ionic angular capacitor flux with native script. So anytime there's a Back to the Future reference, they got me, immediately. Whoever it is, whatever the topic is, I'm in.
This one, and then I was trying to think of what was next. Oh yes, Routeception with Kyle Cannon. How to use the Angular router in micro frontends. So that I was like, I know there's another micro frontends one in here.
Yes.
And that's one of the reasons I was like, it goes so deep.
Well, if anything, Kyle really pulled off the Inception, I guess tie-in that he had here, right? Because at one point he had a dashboard that allowed him to spin up the same dashboard inside that dashboard, and then a dashboard inside that dashboard, and a dashboard inside that dashboard, all using the Angular router. Didn't need to create some custom library for it, which was pretty interesting. Truly did get to Routeception.
Yeah, Wolf's saying quite a lot of buzz around microphones right now, and I would agree. I'm wondering though if it's going to be like die down, or if like that's just going to be the way of things. I'm really curious on how this will go. I'm going to try to place it with you, Carl, so that I don't hide your face with the bubbles.
Oh, it's okay. My face deserves to be hidden by bubbles. It's fine.
And then someone mentioned Perzeus. I'm so sorry if I butchered that. Day one was better than I expected. Me too, but like not in a like that sounds like a diss to like NG-conf, but it was better than I expected as far as just virtual conferences go. I have not had this feeling of like where I'm like laughing and just enjoying like other people's company and like chatting like as much as I have during like day one. I thought it was fantastic, and I love how they pulled that off. And I think that was at least for me, that was a new platform. Virto?
Yeah.
Vito,
however you want to pronounce that, right? vi.to. I don't know. Yeah. No, honestly, probably one of the smoothest online conferences that I've experienced so far during, I guess we can call this the longest March in history, right? Because that's what it feels like. It don't feel like a year's passed, but I guess it has. I agree with you. It was super smooth. Maybe like one or two, a couple of hiccups here and there, but honestly, in this day and age, that's nothing. So. There's just it was great. So I'm with you there. It was I was surprised by the day, but not so much of the content, just how well everything worked and how much even though I was just sitting in this exact chair for most of the day, I still felt like I was a part of a conference, which was great.
Yeah, no, it was really special, and honestly, it just makes my heart ache to be back fully. But it will come. It will happen.
We're almost there. So close, so close. The finish line, we can see it. Yeah.
Oh man. And then a surprise. So I don't know, when I was looking at the conference, because like I went to the conference site and I looked at the sessions, and I don't know why, but I didn't realize there would even be lightning talks. I guess I think it was because it was like a one-liner on the sessions thing that my brain just like blipped over it. So I was really shocked when there were so many rich lightning talks like slammed right there. And I had stepped away right when they went to lunch break, and I was like, oh, this is kind of weird. It's like, what was it, like 2 hours midday? And I was like, oh, this is kind of weird. I was like, it's going to give me time to catch up on all this content though for the recap stream. And so I'm chugging along, and then I plug in one of my AirPods just by chance, like halfway through the lunch break, and I hear John Papa talking, and I'm like, oh my God, the conference has started. What's happening? And then I realized that it was the lightning talk. So I thought that was really a unique way of doing things, where it was like a chunk in the morning of longer sessions, and then what did he call them? He called them something tracks, hallway tracks, where you could either go with a walk with Minko from the dev team, or do yoga with, I think it was someone, was it Sherry? No, I'm trying to remember. Shiloh. I think it was Shiloh.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So there was like all these like little activities that you could like break out and do, or at the very, I guess after both of those, there were lightning talks. So I thought it was kind of a neat way to break up the day. And it was, I don't know, it took me by surprise. I was like, what is happening?
Yeah, no, and there were a lot of good talks, and if you've never put together a talk before, putting something together and trying to talk about a topic just in 5 minutes is very difficult. I would probably say that sometimes it's more difficult than a 20-minute talk or 45-minute talk, right? I tend to talk a lot, so for me, filling 45 minutes is not a problem because worst case scenario, I just ramble for a little bit, right? But being succinct and being able to cover a topic in just 5 minutes and do it maybe for the first time and have it be virtual, it's all these factors that go into it. So everybody doing the lightning talks, they did great. Even in most of these sessions, I learned like one little bit, even if I'd already kind of, maybe I've looked at the topic before, but I still picked up something. So they were all great to take a look at for sure.
Wolf is sorry. So there's actually quite a few wolves in this stream. That's strange. Sorry, that was random. One of the wolves said, talk about Ward's bomb. What about John Pappas? So I don't know if we're talking about, so I might have missed it if it was during the lightning talks, because I totally was like, wait, there's content happening. But are you talking about like Ward baking? Because we're totally going to show like that at the end. And then Wolf I3B, send me your, actually, I will tweet it. I will tweet a link to my recap slides after this stream for you. And my Twitter handle is my name at Alyssa Nicoll. So just check out in the morning when you wake up from your beautiful and lovely rest. Check out my Twitter and I will have a link for you to download. But yes, because I am aware like it's one of the cool things I was watching this morning, different people say hello from different areas and how it really is an international conference and it's beautiful. So if you have to go, we totally understand. Prizes won't be announced. The rest of this is just chatting and going over other highlights that I thought was fun. So heck yes, absolutely. So lightning talks, very cool. Kind of took me by surprise. Next was Eric from Stack Blitz, using WebAssembly to build fast and secure web apps. And I'm gonna take that off.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, before we jump in there is one other talk that we need to talk about actually.
Oh no,
about,
did I skip something?
Yeah, Living La Vida Transloco. That was right before the lightning talks.
Oh no!
Yes, but it's A-okay. Yeah, so Transloco is a very cool. Actually, I started to dive into it a little bit more after I saw the talk. So this is actually the first time I've taken a look at it. So I'm posting a link in chat specifically to the project. But if you're doing anything where you have to translate content in your application, I definitely recommend checking out Transloco. It is a service that essentially exposes an API that allows you to do translations in runtime, so you can easily actually change between different languages throughout your application. And something really neat is you can do fallbacks. So if a language isn't working out, you can like say, oh, for this language, the fallback is English, for example. Or maybe if you want to go like very specific and like, if you have like some dialect of a language, you can do that first and say, okay, but here's like the main language, so you can drop back to that. So very interesting. And really I'm definitely going to check this out a little bit more. So if you're doing any sort of internationalization or localization, definitely recommend checking that out.
Thank you for plopping that link in and catching what I 100% missed. That was the other thing that I was staggered by today was how many talks they fit in. I
so many.
Like was it more than a normal day at NG-conf or no? Was it
maybe? What is a normal day nowadays? Yeah. No, you know what I think it is? Actually, maybe they do. And I'm trying to think of how NG-conf is. I think it might have been about the same. It's just that it was all, jam-packed, right? Because it started at 11 as opposed to like 9 or 10 as it sometimes starts, right, on location. So, yeah, maybe that's why I felt like there was just absolutely jam-packed.
So Webman is asking who uses NX in chat. So shout out if you do, or maybe if you don't, let your opinions be heard. So Eric talked about the incredible browser-based IDE, boots in milliseconds, list out bullet points here, but honestly, it was really cool and very futuristic. And he blew my mind in the podcast. So I I cannot wait to see what's next for Stack Blitz. I feel like it's going to be taking over the world, but that could just be too soon. Maybe.
Last year was sending a satellite into space, right, to host some Stack Blitz projects on it. And this year they have a full-blown OS running in the browser. The fact that if you, I definitely recommend checking this out if you at any point have struggles with sending sample projects back and forth to people, or even just as you spin up your own applications, you might struggle with all the reference that you need locally, and keeping up to date, whatever it might be. What I saw in this talk makes me think that why would I ever need to have Node installed on my local machine? I'm just going to use Stack Blitz to set up my entire project, both front end and back end, for sure.
And that's what I said before, was it not only changes like the face of web development, but it changes the face of learning web development, because it takes away any interface of like you have to download this, and does your environment have this, and what computer and OS are you on, and it just takes all of that away. Do you have a browser? Yes, you can program, period. And that's, I don't know, that was magical to me, and I'm really excited about it. So check out his talk if you want to be blown away. Tell me if this one was next, or if because there's like may or may not.
That one was next. Yes.
So Maria talked on reactive error handling in Angular. I don't know if she did the doodles that were in the slides. I included one here. But if she did, then we need to contact her for some artwork. But
yeah, right.
Oh, did you have any highlights for Maria's talk for us?
For me, kind of what I took away from it is that if you are building anything reactive, you should definitely check out this talk, because I feel like error handling, yes, it's a part of our day-to-day, but sometimes I feel like error handling really only pops up when you run into an error as you're developing something. It might not necessarily be something that you think about like once a feature is shipped, or even naturally as a part of shipping a feature. So yeah, if you're doing any, first of all, you should probably just watch this talk either way, but especially if you're doing reactive development within Angular, then definitely check this out to see how you can set up your error handling to also fall into that model. I found that to be very neat for sure. And I like this slide that you have up here specifically. That's actually one of the notes I took. Error handling is a part of the user experience, right? And error handling is also not a justification for bad user experience. So it helps a lot, but don't have your error messages or your console.logs show up as your way to improve user experience.
Yeah, I like the chat that's going on around NX, which talking about how, well, some people are saying, which turtle? I like it. I like that there's turtle in your name. NX is the best, hands down. Massive improvement in code organization, plus really helpful optimizations for CI. And it's something, it's funny because there's so many things like this. Whether you saw Ward's talk and it's about reactive or template driven forms, whether it's about like using something like NX, or whether it's micro front ends or mono repos, or there's a couple of hot topics where they're very polarizing, whether people like love them or they hate them. And it just kind of brings me back to Steven's talk this morning about how for most of these, there is no right or wrong answer. It's more what's right or wrong for your team, your product, and your customers. And how I loved how he said, like Angular almost wants to be like more blurry in those areas so that you can have your specifics. Like, and I don't know, I totally butchered it. Go watch the keynote again, top 5, but but I love the conversation that's happening.
Yeah, definitely.
And then Wolf said that Jennifer Waddell said Stack Blitz will allow someone to be a dev with Chromebooks. Absolutely. I feel like it would allow someone to be a dev with a mobile device almost. Like I've pulled up, I've been on the go, I've been traveling, and I needed to pull up a code sample, and I've pulled up Stack Blitz on my phone and like been able to like edit things. I don't know if you're supposed to be, like, it's very small and it might be difficult, but like any device, right? Do you have a browser you can code? Like, that's powerful. That
Yeah,
to me.
I actually, there's been a time when you and I were chatting on Slack as I was traveling, and you sent me something that said, "Hey, like, what's going on here? I don't really understand, like the error message I'm getting or whatever it was." And I was able to debug part of the issue over the phone. I don't remember, like, it might have been 2 years ago, whatever it was, but I just remember being in an airport, like landing, and then helping you debug something through Stack Blitz on my phone, which was pretty interesting. So, yeah, that's mind blowing.
Sorry, Laura's her avatar. It literally, like, the first thing I thought when I saw that was, I really need to up my game. Like, I am just not trying hard enough. Like, that was beautiful. But she talked about SwitchMap Wizard was the title of her talk. And I only actually got to see part of this one today. So from what I gathered, she was going over different operators, and then
so like all the the XMAP operators or functions, whatever you want to call them, right? So map, merge map, concat map, switch map, exhaust map, all of them, and kind of going into some examples of how to use them, which I think honestly is great for anybody to take a look at, because I think that some of these might be a little bit tricky for people, especially folks that are new to JavaScript to begin with. But I think there are some in there that maybe not all of us use. So just seeing them being used in some examples was really neat. I also have to say, she had an example that showed off all of them in terms of performance. So you had essentially all the code over on the left, everything being written out in a web page on the right, and you saw everything update as they were going through the map, right? And initially everything updated at the same time, but then once she included a delay, the same delay on every single one, they actually all started updating at different times, which I didn't really expect would happen. So that kind of blew my little mind, that you could see, just by having the same 1.5 second delay, it caused that big of a change.
That's awesome. I need to go back and check it out. Were all of them 20, Carl? Do you think? Was that
just
if
about?
It wasn't
yeah.
lightning, it was 20. Okay.
Yeah.
No, because I'm like, that sounds like a 20 minutes well worth it.
Oh yeah. And in the beginning, I was actually in another room cooking my dinner when this was on, because I eat early, like the old man that I am. And they did a cover of Pinball Wizard, and then I just started singing it, and my wife was not happy that I was singing it. The original, she was like, "Oh, that's funny." Then I started singing it. She's like, "Please, not with your voice. That it was better when the other person did it." So I couldn't get that out of my head.
Dan, the Kendo man.
That needs to be a nursery rhyme.
Maybe you should DM me on Twitter so I can send you some swag. That's all I have to say about that. I think Annie Wang was next. I'm going to tentatively say, just because I know I have lots of room for error with easy, healthy tests with component harnesses. And I thought that there was some funny chat around, and I don't know if you saw, Carl, like around someone was complaining about her using the word harnesses, and then other people were trying to teach that, like, that was actually the technical word for it, not just some random, like, made up word for it. And so I thought it was really interesting chat that was going on during this talk.
We actually missed the chat on that one. Watching the talk. Whoopsie doopsies. I close the chat once in a while just because sometimes I get distracted by it.
Which is like why I lived in the chat.
Yeah. So I was in there a little bit, but sometimes I was like, no, you need to focus. Now you're getting too distracted by the chat. So I would once in a while kind of hide the chat just so I can focus. And this was one of the talks that I did that for.
Well, okay, so I'll update the chat. You tell us, what did you think of just her technical talk on component harnesses?
Yeah, by the way, I think anytime we bring up testing, it's a constant reminder that we should be doing more testing, no matter what we're doing, right? I found this interesting because she went into and talked about how the out-of-the-box components coming from Google, oftentimes, they have some component harnesses, right, for testing, and then went into, okay, so how can you do that with your own custom components? I found that to be a great conversation to have, and kind of remind people that, hey, you can do this too.
I am taking a screenshot. Someone asked, and I'm going to answer by, it's a pretty ghetto way of showing, but I'm doing it. So someone asked if and I thought this was like mind blowing, are the sessions available now? So if you log into the app, let's see, and you scroll down next to each session, after the session had happened, there was a little video thumbnail, and you can click on that and watch it instantly right there in the app. And I was just like, what? Like it was really, really cool. So yes, if you're looking for the sessions right now and didn't realize, when you go into, and I really need to like look up the name of this, it's vi.to, veto, or vi.2. I'm not sure how you call it, but
yeah, it can go literally anyway. Yeah.
But yes, they're already up from day one. So if there's anything juicy that we're talking about and you're like, I need to go see it, scroll down below this where you are watching, and next to the descriptions are the videos. So I thought that was beautiful. Let's see, we talked about Annie, and then we're wrapping very rapidly towards the end. I think Ward Bell was next. Yes, I believe so. And template driven forms for all seasons. Oh my God. It was so good. I think I cried. It was so
What
good.
was it? Was it a tear of joy? Was it
Yeah,
were you worried about Ward's health after the after the whole presentation? Were you worried chat was going to come after him? What kind of tear was it?
I was just so oh yeah, Wolf is saying the lightning talks aren't there. I know, I need to look and see if they're anywhere. I was just enamored by how well he was presenting the topic and how much amazing information was in there, because Ward is coming at it from I prefer template driven forms, right? But the way he taught template driven forms was in such a way that if you're on the reactive camp and you're like, this is the way to be, he kind of showed you how, at least in his opinion, you're overcomplicating matters and you're adding things that you really don't need, and how there are ways within template driven forms to achieve all of the same things. And so I was just like, this is amazing. I think I have, oh yes. Okay. Are we ready? Do you want to say something before I show his clip? Because I was just like,
oh, well, so for me, I think that the biggest part about this, hopefully it doesn't ruin the setup of the clip, by the way, but what I took away from this, especially as somebody in a given day, right? I'm writing jQuery code, Angular code, React, and Vue, like all of them maybe interchangeably, like switching it up all in a day, right? So I default to template-driven forms when I'm in Angular because it's just easier for me to write what I'm writing. And of course I've used reactive forms, so just not as much, I would say. But what I really liked about this is just like you said, taking the examples that maybe if you're in the camp of reactive forms and saying, hey, this is the only way to do something, and you can see it. Now, actually, you can accomplish that with template-driven forms. And I think there's something. Maybe it is just within the tech industry, but I feel like sometimes it leaks into other areas as well, is that we oftentimes assume that anything that's more complex is the better thing to do because it automatically scales more because of because it has more features or it's more complex, right? But I like any talk that takes that and kind of spins it around and says, actually, you might be better off using the quote unquote simpler approach and you can accomplish the same thing. So that's really, if you're interested in it, either if you think reactive forms are too complicated, but you just feel like you're stuck doing them because that's the only way to scale, or if you just really want to see if you can prove Ward wrong, I would say look at this talk and see if he, even the follow-up Q&A, I wonder if that actually will be available or not. But people continue to like ask about this, and it was definitely a hot topic, which I can understand. It blew some minds probably, including mine. I just think it's a very interesting talk, thinking about it from the perspective of there's not always the one way to do it, because there's oftentimes multiple ways, right?
Webman Demand said, I'm going with reactive forms, and Word pretty much said it sucks. sad thing is he convinced me, right? Like, and that's I'm gonna roll the Ward clip and you all
Do
can
it.
see. Let's see. Brand that one. Here we go.
But meanwhile, you have a choice. Do you want to be an Angular Olympic athlete and flex on reactive forms, or do you want to get some work done? Do you want to work for Angular, or do you want Angular to work for you? You can choose for yourself and your team to do it the easy way, the template-driven forms way. I'm Ward Bell, and that's the way it is.
But like seriously, if you're like, wow, he's all talk, you have to go watch the demos. You have to play it back very slowly, maybe 10 times to actually gather everything, because it was really coming at me and I was like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. But
Yeah.
it was beautiful and I loved it. Let me see. The other thing was, I've seen in the chat people are asking about the lightning talks and then also about the Q&A sessions. So it doesn't look like they're up right now. But what I think is happening, don't panic yet in the streets. What I think is happening is that there were portions of the conference that were live and there were portions of the conference that were pre-recorded. And I think that was for ease and for professionalness so that they could pull the show off in the way that they did. So I think with the pre-recorded content, they were able to make it available immediately after it aired. But with the others, it probably needs editing and then they can post it. So I don't think they're going to hold that content hostage. Can make no promises for NG-conf, but I think that's what's happening. And that's why only certain content is showing up on the app right now. So
yeah, I think that makes sense. I'm just gonna +1 that because that logic is flawless.
that theory.
If you ask me. Yep.
So Ward, this was just a clip from him. But we already went in deep. There was, I don't know if this was the Ward bomb that you all talked about, but he made bread. Like he actually made bread on the stream. It was a video of him making bread and it was beautiful bread. And I was really, really jealous, but it was just so funny. So I had to include a couple pics.
Yeah. I think, not only was it funny, but something that I want to say to everybody is that if you think that bread is too complex, it really isn't. It's all just science, and science is oftentimes very exact. So as long as you follow a recipe or a video of Ward, you can definitely make your own bread.
Carl, I think you just called science not complex as well as baking.
Yeah, did I just say that? Science is easy, says me, who very often has to Google how to calculate percentages. And the other day had a probability problem, and I got the wrong answer 3 times before I got the right answer. So, but yeah, it's it's something like this, right? Fresh bread is unbeatable. I don't bake that often because if I do, I wouldn't be able to fit through the door that's behind me. But when I do, I usually feel pretty confident that as long as I, follow grams, or if you do the metric system, or if you like imaginary numbers, you go with cups and stuff. Ooh, he called out the imperial system. Uh-oh.
There's so much baking heat going on right now.
This is the most controversial topic of the day. Yeah. But as long as you follow that, units of measurements, you stick to 1, you don't mix them, generally it'll come out A-okay.
Oh my gosh, but it was beautiful. I do hope there was a bunch of talk about how, because I think Alex was doing a bunch of dances, and then there was a blog post that Alex had written about his story in Angular, and I saw that someone was like, I think it was Brian was retweeting it, saying how it was bringing him to tears, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to go and read this now. So there was a bunch of little clips throughout the day that were really special, and I'm hoping that they make those available somehow in some sort of mashup. But it was very neat, and I cannot wait to see what they have in store tomorrow. The last one for today, one of my favorite peeps, and definitely the top. Okay, so we're gonna do the top 3. The top 3 for Alyssa is, you have to go watch the opening keynote. You have to go watch Ward's talk on template-driven forms, and you have to go watch Mark Thompson's closing keynote. And I'm just gonna roll the clip, and this is gonna give you why. Because you have to see this to understand.
It's all feeling a little magical, right? Well, how is this being configured? Can we figure this out? Well, since you asked, suppose that we can clear up any doubts. Run the schematic. It feels so automatic, but in fact it's quite pragmatic. Update files, create some static, and there you go. Hit some goals. Your new wishes are command. When you use the right command, your app's abilities expand. NGSW config.json. Yeah, configure your service worker, and then it's like, now I get it. That's back to the cache. Update prefetching by providing the right path. Yeah, and you can be quite specific. If a file is not loading, add an entry so we don't miss it. And there you have it. Now you know it works offline. Oh yeah, let's go. And if you configure things right, then your users may never know. So it's not actually...
Yeah. It was amazing. It was beautiful. There were that happened multiple times throughout his talk. And then he'd go back into code and like teaching mode. And it was the coupling of the two was really quite funny to me. I very much enjoyed Mark's. So
yeah,
Sarah,
I don't know if the instructions were, oh yeah, I needed this in my life. Yes.
Yeah.
100%. I was gonna say, I don't know if they were like, listen, we need a strong closer. Can you make something that'll keep the energy up? Or if they,
or if he was just like, this is what we're doing, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it kind of just worked out. But yeah, definitely, because it's a long day, right? I mean, I learned so much. I took so many notes, and you know, what time is it now? Almost 8 p.m. where I am, right? And we had somebody in chat, the real hero, being up until 2 a.m. watching sessions, right? But to have that at the end of the day, you know, really, it really is great, because you just don't get that slump towards the end of the day. It keeps you pumped for sure.
It was actually really informative. I made the comment in chat that I was like, is it just me, or is coding concepts easier to understand in rap form? Like that, it was just I was like, this is making more sense when he's rapping versus when he's just talking. So I thought it was beautiful. He talked about crafting PWAs and within Angular, and how to do that and how to be awesome at it. And so check his out, top 3 for sure. And I will ask. I know Frosty and Joe are really busy, but I'll ask them about that other content, and I can try to let you know tomorrow during our wrap up stream for. And I don't know why I'm blurry. It's driving me crazy. Someone was like, use your thumb, Alyssa. I don't know why that's a thing.
Because it's supposed to, if you pull that back, the camera focuses on it and then has something to track. And then
I was doing it with my hands, and all my friends on stream were like, use your thumb. Like, it's not the hand, it's the thumb.
Yeah, I don't listen. I just call science easy, but I'm not going to be able to explain that. I think it has something to do with it's easier to focus on a small point than like a big thing. Because otherwise, it's just like for me, right? If I do this, you can't really tell too much of a difference. It's just white on white, you know, like it's not. I'm
the one who's like got skin colored paint on my wall. I'm like, why did I will have a new background. It's kind of
just dark, like something you should. I like a dark red. Love that color, for example. That could work.
Yes.
Ooh.
Okay, but I will ask, I will find out, and hopefully I'll have an answer for you tomorrow's stream. And if you did not fill out teal background for Alyssa, yes, go teal. If you did not fill out this link, a dink over here, fill it out. You still have a chance to win prizes. And I hope to see you in chat tomorrow at NG-conf, and hopefully IRL real soon. So that is all that I have for today, but we'll be here, same bat channel tomorrow, right after Frosty signs off. So anything else, Carl?
No, that should be it. Yeah, thanks for joining us today, everybody. I love doing these at the end of the conference, since it's a nice way to kind of wind down and in the chat, you know, participating and continuing, right? So it's a fun time for sure. Although it's not, like I said, it's not 2 a.m. here, so at least you know, I'm not doing this right in the middle of the night. Some people are the real heroes, honestly.
Well, I think that is all. Thank you all so very much, and we'll see you tomorrow after NG-conf day 2. So
yeah, bye everybody.